Hey friends, book update. I had this funny thought today. I was just working on the recipe for an Italian braised pasta dish that's kind of served as this, traditionally as this Sunday dinner thing. It cooks while everybody's at mass, and they'll come home and eat this braise that's been braising for a long time, and the flavors are classic. I mean, it's just tomatoes, red wine, some parsley at the end, Parmesan cheese. It's very simple, but not very widely known. And as I was, this is funny, as I was writing it out, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna get so much flack from Italians that they're gonna be like, you did it wrong, or whatever. And the funny thing I've noticed about this recipe, because I do pretty thorough research if I'm not familiar with the dish, and this is one that I actually have never had before and I've never had cooked for me. And what was I saying? Yeah, this is one I've never had before, so I did a ton of research on it. I watched many YouTube videos. Tons of people have put their version on YouTube and on blogs and stuff, so there's not much variation with this recipe. Like, it's done very specifically, and it always uses like pork ribs, beef of some type of slow cooking beef, and then Italian sausages. Those are the three meats. So a tough cut of pork, a tough cut of beef, and sausages. And then it's got red wine, tomatoes, Parmesan cheese at the end, served over pasta. I didn't find very much variation, and not in a bad way, but I think it's a good way, because it's like such a straightforward recipe that most people do it exactly the same. And I thought that was cool, actually, you know. And I love when I find recipes that are like that, like they are. And I'm not saying everyone's family does it the same, like, don't beat me up if you're Italian, but it's just, it's very straightforward and lovely the way it is, that it doesn't need to be changed. It doesn't need to have something major done to it differently, like between families and the way they prepare it. So if you are watching this and you have made this recipe and it's been done in your family, I would love to know what you think of my recipe if you have my book, and what you would do differently, and if you want to beat me up. So, or any of the other dishes in that vein. If you're like, that's like a sacred family recipe, why are you doing that? I want to know. Like, let's talk it out. But I'm just here doing these recipes because I love the tradition. I love recipes that have stood the test of time. They don't go away. They've been done pretty similarly and have kept the name of the dish. And it's just been years, decades, more, hundreds of years that some of these recipes have been done. And I'm just here to shed light on them. And of course, going back to the main theme of the book, it's using the homemade stock to make said dish, because in the traditional way, a lot of families would have a pot of scraps and bones simmering away on their back burner. And that's really because when we were buying meat in a different way, which now it's all portioned. I mean, everything is about portion, and the perfect portion. All of these things just disassembled from the whole animal. I think it's, people aren't saving those bones because there aren't a whole lot of bone-in cuts, really, that people buy. A lot of stuff is boneless. But, I mean, let's be honest, do you buy mostly chicken already portioned, or do you buy whole chickens and break them down and save the carcass? It's cheaper to buy the chicken like that. It does take a couple of minutes to break it down. But then you have chicken scraps for chicken broth, and it makes such a flavorful base, and it's free. So, and I think it's like that for other meats as well, not just chicken. But yeah, it's really celebrating all of these traditional dishes, how they have been made. Certainly are variations that exist within families. A lot of them have been brought to the forefront more in like a mainstream way. Obviously, a lot of the soups and stuff, like tomato soup or something like that, I mean, it's not, I can't think of stapling that one down to a certain like group of people or cuisine. It's just American. But it's really getting back to that broth and stock, and how these dishes are mainly supposed to be made, or were made when they were being developed. They were being made with homemade stocks and broths, and the flavor is so much richer with the homemade stocks, but it's also more healthful. I really do believe that consuming broths and stocks is the backbone of nutrition, and nutrition is there to give us building blocks. It's to give us vital energy. So if we are making stocks and broths and consuming them regularly in a delicious manner, incorporating them into our food, I think we can strengthen our health. And this is not supposed to give health advice or whatever, but it's just something to think about, because if you're not sold on making broth yet, it's like you can make a big batch. If you have a somewhat big pot, you can make at least a gallon of broth. And some of these recipes, they call for 1 cup, they call for 2 cups, they call for a half a cup. It's not a ton of broth. It's not like you're slaving over the stove making 5 gallons of broth so you can make these meals. I mean, it's very little, but the thing is, it's cumulative over time. It's getting that sustenance in regularly in small doses. So, and granted, some of the recipes, the ones actually like this Italian braise, calls for meat on the bone. And when you're using meat on the bone, slow cooking it for hours to become tender, those are dishes that you can add water to, and it will affect the flavor to the point of it being somewhat less layered. It's not going to have that much, as much like umami flavor, because that's really what stocks give too, is like backbone of flavor, umami. But it will still be wonderful. It will still be flavorful. There's still enough time there to break down the good stuff in those on the bone cuts, and you can use water. So you don't have to make stocks if you really don't want to make stocks. Get this book and pull from it the recipes, which I clearly state too, kind of in the introduction part to those chapters. These are the ones that you can make with water, and they turn out wonderful and competitively as nutrient dense as the ones that add stock. So there's many options. Anyway, have a nice day.